just let me know when we've got everything set and we're ready to begin. I will. Are we good to go? Excellent. Thank you all for joining us today to talk about this very important issue. My name is Briana Schwabenbauer, and I am a student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, studying elementary education with an English as a second language focus. I am joined today by Senator Janet Bewley and Senator Chris Larson. Thank you so much, Senators, for joining us today. I am also joined by Professor Dr. Todd Lilly from Edgewood College, WEAC President, Wisconsin Education Association Council President, Betsy Kippers, and current student at UW-Madison, Allison Kraft, who is studying art education. We are here today to deliver to Governor Scott Walker and Senate legislators a petition signed by more than 37,500 Wisconsinites opposing Representative Chiha's proposal to lower teaching license standards in Wisconsin. We're going to talk briefly about the issue, and then we'll be taking any questions. Afterwards, we will be delivering the petition straight to Governor Walker's office. It is my passion for the quality learning experiences of my future students that is the reason I started this petition. And it is Wisconsin's passion for a quality future and education that drove people to sign this petition. In fact, over 37,500 Wisconsinites to sign this petition. The people who signed this petition are doctors, lawyers, teachers, speech-language pathologists, truck salesmen, fathers, mothers, Wisconsinites who are concerned about the state of education and know that if we want a strong Wisconsin, we need strong schools. As you know, the Joint Finance Committee passed a proposal in Governor Walker's budget that allows anyone with a bachelor's degree to teach grades 6 through 12, and anyone with a college degree or anyone without a college degree or high school diploma to teach non-core subjects such as health, English as a second language classes, special education, foreign language, and computer sciences classes in middle school or high school education. First, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Senator Bewley to speak on behalf of this issue. Thank you, Senator Bewley, for joining us.
Thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I particularly want to thank the young educators who are going to be going into a wonderful profession of teaching. I want to acknowledge the fact that I represent the 25th Senate District, which is a rural school district. And we also have Senator Larson representing an urban and very far southern district. This issue faces all schools in all parts of the state. Just in early May, we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week, and I was proud to author a resolution that read as follows. Teachers demonstrate an ongoing commitment to their craft and their students through professional development, continued learning, and effective approaches to convey knowledge and foster success. But sadly, just a few weeks after that, the resolution to join finance to significantly lower teaching standards was passed. I find that ironic and tragic, and certainly not in keeping with what all of the educators here stand with me to support, which is teaching past, present, and future. We have a responsibility to acknowledge that teaching is not just conveying content, it is about educating students. It is about educating minds. And there is a good deal of training that has to go into an upcoming teacher in order to accomplish that very, very important profession. I would like now to introduce Senator Chris Larson, who will talk about these very things in his urban school districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bewley. The provision in the budget creating a new teacher licensing structure is an attempt to fix a self-inflicted wound. After 4 years of attacking teachers, their profession, and public education in general, this move will greatly decrease the quality of the profession and the quality of teachers that are teaching our children. The provision will make it harder to attract and retain high-quality teachers and retain them. Recently, after this proposal was introduced, I met with students from my area they shared their concerns. One student going to school to become a teacher wanted to make clear that teaching is not intuitive and that it takes great skill to handle kids from tough situations. One thing she wanted to make sure legislators know is this: what seems like a solution can actually cause more damage. She gave an example of a disruptive student and her first instinct being to pull that child from the classroom and send him to the principal's office and deal with them later. What she found out through instruction is that's not the thing to do, and that can actually cause problems with that child's learning long term. Through instruction, quality teachers know how to handle situations like this. In summary, this group of soon-to-be teachers wanted to make clear it takes more than just being good with kids to be a teacher. It takes a dedication to the profession. Teaching is a profession. It takes years of training to learn methods of how to teach to a variety of needs that children have. Simply allowing anyone to take a test and give them a license to teach is wrong for Wisconsin. This would be like allowing someone to take a test about anatomy, and should they pass, allowing them to be a doctor and practice medicine. We have a constant and steady attack on public education, and this is just one of the 1,000 cuts that we've seen in the last 5 years. We'll continue to oppose lowering standards in our state and fight to remove these terrible provisions, but we will also put forward a bill to put Wisconsin back on the right path. So today I also wanted to announce we're introducing 2 bills. The first is to increase per pupil funding up to CPI, allowing school boards to do that. This was a principle established by Governor Tommy Thompson, who recognized that schools need to at least be able to keep up with the cost of inflation. Our bill does that, and as a basic step we should all agree on that we all know our school boards are asking for, both rural and urban. The second bill is to increase the reimbursement rate for special education to 33%. Governor has continually froze froze funding for special education, and over the past 20 years we've seen a steady decline in funding for our most vulnerable children. At one point the state reimbursed 70%. Our bill will start to reverse this downward trend and begin to once again reinvest in our most vulnerable children. Overall, it's time for us to make education whole again. It's inspiring that 37,500 citizens are standing united against this unnecessary and horrible teacher licensure provision. I hope that leaders will listen to the people, change course, and reinvest in public education and begin to move Wisconsin forward again. We, as a state, cannot continue to lower our expectations, lower our standards, and expect Wisconsin to thrive. We are better than that, and the state budget ought to reflect that.
Thank you again, Senators, for joining us today. Next, I'd like to introduce Allison Kraft, who is an art education student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She is going to be talking about her experiences in her art education program and how they prepare her to be the quality teacher that you want in your child's classroom. Welcome, Allison Kraft.
Thanks, Briana. My name is Allison Kraft. In the fall, I will begin my final year in the art education program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I was not only frustrated and disappointed, but also quite angry when I heard about the proposals to the changes in teacher licensure. The other attacks on Wisconsin education aside for the moment, we need to focus on the fact that adequately prepared teachers are what our students need, and this proposal is running full speed in the opposite direction. As I mentioned, I'm studying art education. My program will certify me as a K-12 art teacher. Now, I've been an artist since before I can remember. I've always been passionate about it. I've shown my work locally and even internationally. I'm pretty pleased with the amount of content knowledge that I've assessed over the couple years. However, if I were to decide to drop out of my teacher education program right now, I would not be prepared to run my own classroom. Despite what you might hear, just knowing subject matter does not mean that you know about how to best teach that subject. We have all had teachers who knew their subject themselves, but couldn't impart that knowledge onto others. To teach art, it is not enough to know the processes yourself. You must also know the perfect combination of demonstration, explanation, and discussion to ensure that your students can understand that process as well. Thus, while content knowledge is necessary, a thorough understanding of pedagogy, curriculum, and students are arguably more important. Those are the things that teacher education programs help guarantee. Within these programs, students like myself can learn from experts who have been educators before. These programs connect future teachers not only with the brilliant minds within the university, but also with dedicated educators who are in our schools every day. We learned what types of lessons to plan, what age students they work best for, and how to best achieve the greatest understanding. I can also learn from my peers and the experiences they're going through in their teaching placements. Frankly, I would not be ready to enter teaching without having gone through such a program. I have already been working and volunteering within the Madison schools for about 4 years in a number of different positions. Despite all that time and experience, I still don't feel that I have yet earned my teaching license, because there is still a lot to learn. The right to teach is not something that should be handed out to anyone. Being an educator is no easy task. The population of students in our schools is wonderfully diverse, and teacher education programs help future teachers be prepared to how to best understand and engage all students. Specifically within art education, I have to know how to differentiate projects, time given, tools, and expectations in order to be inclusive. There are a lot of things to consider in any given moment. Maybe someone with an education degree could successfully teach some students. But is that what we want? Do we want teachers who are all right, so-so, or mediocre? My program pushes me to be the best educator I can be. And when I earn my first teaching placement, those are the types of teachers I want to be surrounded by. Not someone who chose to get a degree in something else or chose not to get one at all. What I want to be around someone who is passionate about their subject, like I am. So requiring teacher education before licensure seems like common sense. When something is as important as the future of our students, we should put only the best, most prepared professionals among them. So those proposed changes to teacher licensure are not just an insult to me and all of the others working tirelessly to prepare for the teaching profession. It is, more importantly, it is an insult to all of the students and families who deserve great teachers. As someone currently involved in the long process of teacher preparation, those are just a few of the endless reasons why the proposed changes to teacher licensure are wrong for students, schools, and Wisconsin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allison. Next, I'm going to introduce Dr. Todd Lilly from Edgewood College, who is an education. He was a former teacher, and now he is a current professor for education students.
Hello. As listening to Senator Larson's quoting the student, I realized that's my student that he was quoting. And I have worked as her friend, as her mentor, and as her teacher as she has fulfilled her requirements at Edgewood College, ready to go into student teaching. Now, before she goes into student teaching this fall, she's already accumulated 100 hours of practicum experience in classrooms. So it's a very rigorous program. Very few, if any, of our students finish the program currently in less than 5 years. Districts are telling us that they want more out of our teachers, not less. There's a principal in Verona who tells us, don't send us candidates any longer who are not only certified in their area, but are also certified to teach English as a second language students or special ed students. So the cry out there is not for less qualified teachers, it's for more qualified teachers. But in defense of the proposal to lower teaching standards, I think we also have to acknowledge that the state has a problem. When you look at districts such as Spooner, if you don't know what's happening in Spooner this week, just Google it. It's not pretty. They've got $1 million in a very poor school district to make up. At the same time, they are demanding higher standards. So far they have had to lay off several, if not all, of their teacher aides. What's wrong with this picture? So as the recession is over and other states have risen out of the recession and are investing more money into education, what can we do here in Wisconsin? And it's not that in acknowledging what's happening in Spooner and so forth, it's understandable why we want to get teachers quickly into those districts. But why aren't teachers going into those districts? Many of those districts are paying less than $33,000 for a starting teacher who, after 5 years of education, has a $30,000 debt to pay off. They're not going to be wanting to go into those districts. So we've got to address that. And let's face it, by lowering the standards, we open the door to paying those people less. Obviously, they're no longer professionals. Maybe they're not even teachers, they're more like attendants. And on the other side of the coin, we have a push for independent charter schools who would love to have this, because then they can hire non-teachers and pay them non-professional salaries and increase their profits. And they are for-profit institutions. So I'm asking us to revisit this. Instead of pushing this through so quickly, let's take a look, as my student Lydia said, we need to see the larger picture of what's going on and address that larger picture instead of just throwing out these Band-Aids that make the situation worse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lilly. Now I'd like to introduce President Betsy Kippers of the Wisconsin Education Association Council. Betsy?
Hi, thank you. Let me start with a very simple statement. Low standards will not provide better qualified teachers. Again, simple. Low standards will not provide better qualified teachers. There's an art and science to teaching. It's not just about skills and knowledge. It's about the how to teach. Every child that we know deserves a caring, qualified, and committed teacher with a solid background in how to teach, along with the what to teach. I've been a teacher myself for over 30 years, representing tens of thousands of Wisconsin licensed teachers throughout the state who work with our students each and every day. And I, along with my fellow teachers, am absolutely offended at the idea that just about anyone can walk into a classroom and effectively teach. I want qualified, effective teachers in front of my nieces and nephews and friends' children. Lowering standards will not get us there. Would we consider lowering standards for doctors, dentists, lawyers? No way. When schools have difficulty filling positions, Wisconsin already offers different paths to become a teacher that still meet the requirements of a qualified licensed teacher. There's flexibility there, but in that flexibility is a quality standard. That's what's important. Our students deserve that. They have the right to a quality teacher, no matter what. This half-baked idea that's hidden in the budget doesn't solve the real problem. We know what the real problem is. Adequate funding that allows schools to fund and keep the best teachers. The Spooner example supports that comment. Adequate funding to attract and retain the best and most qualified teachers. You know, already we have statewide voucher schools that get millions in tax subsidies and have fewer quality standards for their educators, and our public schools outperform them. At a time when we're demanding more from our students and our schools, why would we settle for lower standards for teacher quality? I don't get it. We want in front of our kids the most qualified, caring, and compassionate teachers we can find. You know, this idea is so outrageous that it has hit to the hearts and souls and compassion of retired, current, and future educators, as you can see behind me. Their commitment to high standards and that outgoing passion for being the best teacher they can be has been attacked, and they're not going to stand by silently. We are just so proud to stand here and demonstrate our skill and ability, the art and the science needed to teach our children. High standards are not a barrier. They're our moral obligation. I hope our legislators will stand with all of us and the 37,000 plus citizens who want us to oppose this outrageous proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Kippers. The honorable people you have heard from today bring with them different perspectives and experiences. However, they all have one thing in common. They all share this one thing with all of Wisconsin, and that is the united vision and understanding that every child deserves a quality education, and every child deserves equal opportunities to succeed. When all of our students have equal access to a quality education, it empowers them. It empowers them with the liberty to learn. It shouldn't matter if they go to school in Sturgeon Bay or Milwaukee, Holman, Wisconsin, or La Crosse, Wisconsin. It shouldn't matter if they go to Madison or Brookfield. The proposal to lower teaching standards was introduced in order to fix rural and urban schools and fill in teacher positions by allowing people to obtain a teacher license without a college degree or high school diploma, leaving a disproportionate amount of these positions open for untrained teachers to work with some of our most vulnerable students. Which makes me think that there is a misconception by some as to what actually happens in a teacher preparation program and the importance they serve in preparing people for the responsibilities of the classroom. So now I would like to take a minute and to talk about the value of teacher preparation programs, especially from an English as a second language perspective. After I graduate in 2 years, I want to go on and teach English as a second language students. And in order to do that, I have to go through a training process to know different reading standards and different reading techniques. However, with this proposal in the budget, you would not need a degree to teach English as a second language learners. Right now, I am learning about how to differentiate my curriculum for different classrooms and different readers, how to implement miscue analysis, an innovative reading strategy and practice in my classroom, using a methodology of contrastive analysis to teach students how to use English grammar. I am learning about ways to motivate students to read by learning about student identities. I am learning strategies for inclusive schooling and how to challenge my students in the class who are 3 reading levels behind and how to support students, I'm learning how to challenge students who are 3 reading levels above grade level, and I'm learning how to support students who are 3 reading levels behind grade level. All of this and much more is giving me the knowledge I need English as a language teacher, and will help my students to be successful in their own learning. And this does not even begin to touch on the social dimensions that affect a student's life. My teacher preparation program is teaching me how to respond to the emotional needs of all students. What do you do, I ask, when a student comes up to you and tells you in confidence that they have been sexually abused? How do you respond to that? You don't just do it with a hug. You don't just do it with, well, I hope you get better soon. It's not a day process. In these teacher preparation programs, we are learning how to respond to these very real life experiences that these children are having. What I am learning is how to respond to these situations, how to create a safe environment for them, and this is needed in all of our classrooms. In my short time in practicum and school experiences, I have already been learning about some of these, but there's much more that I need to know yet. There is a process you go through as a teacher, and you need to know how to respond to these students and their emotional needs at different stages of their psychological development. All teachers in every subject and every classroom, rural, urban, and suburban, need to have an understanding of the psychological needs and development of their children. My fear is that this proposal to lower teaching standards is going to lead to desperate districts hiring people without any experience in education. These districts are going to pay these people less, and it's going to affect generations of Wisconsin students to come who won't be taught properly by trained teachers. It's a lose-lose proposal. It's a loss for the person with a degree, without a degree, it's a loss for the person without a degree who is going to jump into the classroom unprepared and drown when reality hits them that teaching is more than just knowing. It's a loss for our children who are not going to have equal access to prepared, professional, and practice educators. Thus, we will be robbing them of the liberty to learn. And lastly, it's a loss to all of Wisconsin and our state's great education system. Wisconsin is not a losing state. So instead of coming up with Band-Aid proposals that are going to fall off when Wisconsin hits reality that we need to invest in our public schools, let's approach this issue with real win-win solutions. Let's approach this issue to keep Wisconsin schools strong. Let's keep that shared Wisconsin vision we have as Democrats, as Republicans, as mothers, as fathers, as students, as teachers, as professionals, as Wisconsinites, that when Wisconsin schools are strong, Wisconsin is strong. Thank you very much for joining us today. And now I'd like to open up this time for you to ask any questions for us. If there's anything in particular that you would like answered, we are free to speak.
So I'd like to ask the senators, I think particularly Senator Bewley, given that Representative Chaya pitched this as something that was requested by districts, legislative districts, or her attempt to help those, have you had any feedback with Ashland School District or the other school districts that you represent on whether they want this?
I have the largest Senate district in the state with the most challenged rural districts. Not one district came forward and said, we need a solution like this that will diminish standards. And not one, I have heard nothing. Teachers, family members, superintendents, no one has come out to support lowering standards as a solution. They all maintain that the highest qualified teachers are the backbone of a strong education, and we cannot divert from that in any way.
Offhand, do you know how many school districts are in your Senate district? It's a lot.
It's a lot. Well, you know, interestingly enough, sometimes it's not a lot because they have been forced to consolidate and they have been forced to try to find ways to save money that end up with very large districts with even more problems, with even more challenges when it comes. But the one thing that they are not willing to compromise on is the quality of the teachers that they put in the classroom. I have heard no support of anything that Representative Chaya has proposed.
I can chime in. Yeah, I've got a smaller district geographically than Senator Bewley's. We've got 5 school districts, and talking to school administrators, school teachers, school principals, parents, and teachers, they're both simultaneously afraid of what this proposal is going to mean for education and wonder if it's actually a joke. Because it looks like an Onion headline, right? Like, we're just going to let anybody become a teacher, you know? And even Representative Chaya, who put this forward, can't put a name to who is asking for it. They said they're looking for help. But what this does is it's going to try and put out a fire with a can of gasoline. It's not going to solve the problem. It's going to create more of a problem. And I'd challenge you to go and talk to her school districts and see if this is exactly what they're looking for. We get they're looking for help. What we're asking for is more funds to make sure that we are investing in quality teachers and make sure that we're giving them what they're asking for, not creating more problems.
Do we have any more questions at all, or are we good?
Thank you.
Excellent. Now we're going to take the time to deliver the petitions to Governor Walker's office. Thank you again for everyone who has attended and this event, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.